Nigeria is the 10th largest oil producer in the world and the 3rd largest in Africa. For decades, the country's economy has been largely dependent on the product. As a matter of fact, oil and gas accounted for 90% of export income in the fourth quarter of 2022 and 85% of government revenue in Nigeria, hereby confirming the country's position as a monoproduct economy. With oil theft and illegal bunkering taking as much as 200,000 to 400,000 barrels per day of the country's oil production, the country's physical stability is no doubt threatened, while the economic impact of the new wave of oil theft ravages the nation. Losses to oil thieves and official leakages could overtake official receipt of oil revenues into the Nigerian treasury. However, with recent development in the oil and gas industry going by the removal of fuel subsidy, Nigeria is set to boost its crude production output, reduce consumption, and upgrade its refinery capacity from proceeds from subsidy removal. To discuss more on these, I'm now being joined live virtually from Abuja by an energy expert and Director of Tax and Regulatory Services, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ayodele Akinduyeti. Good morning, sir. Many thanks for joining us on the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So we'll start this conversation by me asking you this now. What can you say is the rationale behind the mystery of crude oil theft in Nigeria, and why have we not been able to overcome it?
Well, as you are aware, even though the oil sector is a key aspect of the Nigerian economy, but it's not immune from the challenges we're having, as a country. So, for me, I'll put it down to the issues around governance and the challenges, we've been able to manage our governance process effectively. So generally there's insecurity, basically in almost every part of the country, and we then see the effect of that also in the oil and gas industry. So it's being able to tackle the issues around internal security. It's almost unbelievable that a key resource, a major resource, so important that it contributes close to 90% of our foreign earnings, we are not able to secure it as a country. So it's totally unbelievable. But that is a situation where we found ourselves, and clearly is a reflection of the general insecurity that we have in the country.
So talking about security now, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, and some relevant security agencies have been making strategic efforts to put an end to oil theft, but these efforts seem not to be achieving much result. What other measures do you think that the NNPCL can implement to bring an end to this oil theft menace?
Well, I think, in terms of recent data, seems to indicate that we're seeing some improvement. In fact, I saw in the news this morning that the largest trunk line we have in Nigeria delivered 100% of the crude injected into it, which I think is a very positive outcome. So what I would just suggest we need to do as a country is to appropriately fund our security architecture. Internal security is not a joke, and we've seen the impact of that, not funding that appropriately over the years in terms of recruitment, in terms of having the right architecture, about leveraging on technology. So we clearly need to go back to the basics and make sure we provide that foundation that is required to guarantee security, which is a key aspect, of what is expected of government. But I think the current approach seems to have delivered some positive response, but how sustainable is this approach may be the challenge. How cost effective is it? So maybe in the short term, we may need to sustain that, but in the long run, we need to empower our security agencies to be able to do their job effectively. The situation where you need to engage a private security outfit to support or provide security, I don't think it's really the most efficient. So we need to go back to the basics, properly restructure our security architecture, make sure it is funded effectively. Our recruitment process is transparent. We're providing relevant training. We're making available the required equipment. We need to prioritize the oil sector because the resources that you require to fund your other aspect of the economy, if you don't prioritize and take care and deal with the issues in the oil sector, then you stand the risk of not having the funds.
Ayodele Akinduyeti is giving us some insight as to how government can tackle issues surrounding the crude oil theft menace and also bring about much investment needed to boost our revenue from the oil and gas sector. Mr. Ayo, are you there now?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, so just go ahead with your submission on that before I ask my next question.
Yeah, so in summary, there's been some improvements. We need to sustain the gains that have been made in that area. Then we don't need to look at medium-term, long-term solution that will permanently resolve this issue. So clearly, I think it's so crucial and fundamental.
So crude oil theft, lack of investment, and transition to renewable energy are some of the factors that has been outlined to be responsible for Nigerians' inability to increase oil production significantly. How do you react to this, and what should be done to ensure that our capacity is being improved on?
No, I think that's really spot on again. Oil and gas industry is not cheap; it's really capital intensive. So if you make investments and when it's time for you to produce and you are not able to get the product to market, then that becomes a challenge. That becomes a disincentive for further investment. So, but good that the security issues are now being addressed. Hopefully, they will then begin to see some positive development in terms of being able to attract the right level of investment. Also, the legal issues and regulatory issues. The good thing is it took us quite a while to have the Petroleum Industry Act in place. Now that we have it in place, it's now the responsibility of the relevant arms of government to transparently implement it. Of course, there may be areas that require further improvement, but we need to be able to go back to the National Assembly and make amendments to strengthen and bring additional transparency to the oil and gas industry. And of course, those are the things that we need to do to be able to attract the right level of investment on a continuous basis. And you of course touched issues around climate change, clean energy, energy transition and all that. Those are also very important issues that we cannot lose sight of. But the good thing is, at the moment, considering the geopolitical dynamics, gas is still considered some form of transition energy, source of energy, and as a country, we've identified gas as a transition fuel. So it's important that we're able to attract the right level of investment to end gas flare, to encourage further investment in the upstream gas sector, encourage investment in the midstream gas sector, encourage investment in the downstream gas sector such that we improve our local utilization of gases, to be able to drive economic development in Nigeria, and also improve the capacity to export gas and generate additional foreign earnings.